Now, our first guests this evening have performed on stage and in the recording studio with one of the greatest artists of all time, the chameleon of rock, David Bowie.
Of course. Please welcome to the 6 o'clock show bassist Gail Ann Dorsey and pianist Mike Garson.
Yes, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Flown in from LA, especially. Flown in from New York.
Yes.
You're already adding notches to our show. It sounds fabulous. Yes. Mike, you've performed on more Bowie records than any other musician. That's phenomenal. Talk to us about your friendship with David.
You know, he's just my friend, you know, and then he happens to be this talented guy. But when you just sit and talk with him, we were discussing that when I joined in 1972. He was talking to me about his famous jazz artists who I grew up with, like Stan Kenton and Charlie Mingus, and I knew it was going to be a great run. I was only hired for 8 weeks, and somehow I ended up quite a long time.
Wow. What do you think it was, though, that you stuck around for so long? If your allocated time was only supposed to be 8 weeks, what do you think it was that you stayed for such a long time?
I think we shared that we're both kind of chameleon-like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in the first 2 years, from 72 through 74, I did 5 albums with him, and he fired 5 different bands, and I was the only one that remained. And that wasn't because of the friendship. It was really because I could change styles, because I had studied a lot of music in New York, and classical and jazz and fusion and pop. So he was just changing, and I was along for that ride. So I was very comfortable doing it.
He was a chameleon. Mike was a chameleon as well.
Exactly. I love it.
Exactly.
Now, David Bowie was, of course, a true showman. He pushed boundaries. You've performed with him live over 1,000 times. What was it like witnessing that live?
You know, the piano was behind him, so until YouTube, I didn't get to see what he really looked like. So I'm learning now. But I was seeing him from the back, but you could feel like as if he had eyes behind his head. I mean, he was magical. He was magical. He was natural. And he didn't even want to be a singer. Am I right? He didn't
Well,
care.
he liked paint. Yeah, not really. I mean, it was one of many things that he could do, put it that way.
Yeah.
But it was never like a major focus that
He
was
just,
a singer.
he would get up there and just
It's part of the process.
embrace the audience. Yeah.
Well, Gail Ann, how did you find working with him?
Life-changing, really. I mean, it was, for me, it's like it was an experience to have an opportunity of what I imagine it would be like to be an apprentice under Picasso, Michelangelo,
the greats.
Someone who is just incredibly great and gifted, and it was just an experience that, you know, I think I was just lucky to have this opportunity to kind of work under a master, basically.
Yeah, and you're also a multi-instrumentalist. For those that are unaware, talk to us about that.
It just means I can play more than one instrument. I don't know how well I can play them all.
I think pretty well.
Oh, pretty well. Well, some better than others. But no, guitar I was always a lover of guitar. I always wanted to play the guitar. When I heard guitar as a young girl, I just thought I have to make that. I have to communicate with that instrument in particular because it really spoke to me. So I started on guitar, and then I ended up on the bass by a lucky accident, which is now my best instrument.
Talk to us about the first time you played bass. You actually got paid for it.
Well, I was looking to get a job when I was 14 or 15 in summer break from school. I wanted to work. I had been playing in bands, but just for fun and learning and just getting started in that, in local bands in Philadelphia, where I was born and raised. And then I was looking for a job and with a band that would actually make some money. So in that time, we're talking mid-70s, top 40 bands make money, wedding bands.
Yes,
you know.
of course.
So I went looking for a job as a guitar player, but everybody was already a guitar player in the 70s. It was probably the most famous instrument in the 70s, the 60s too, probably. And so, but people were looking for a bass player. It seemed like nobody wanted to play the bass. So I borrowed a bass from a friend, went on an audition, got the job as a bass player, because it was a lot easier than playing the guitar.
Okay.
Four strings.
That's interesting.
And that's how I got my first, and I got the job, and I worked in that summer on top 40 gigs playing.
Listen, I love it. The hustle's real. Too
I
many
know.
guitarists. I'll play the bass.
You're like, I'll find a solution.
I'll do it all.
You know, a lot of bass players have that same story as how they ended up as bass players.
Yeah.
Because it's just one of those instruments that people don't think about. It's in the background. It's not important. But what I've come to learn, it is the most important instrument in every ensemble.
Yes.
Now, it was pretty full circle for you because you went from playing David Bowie songs at a 16th birthday
That's
party
right.
to then playing with David
That's
Bowie.
right.
How did that all come about?
Well, I mean, you know, the funny thing was a song that there's two songs I think I can remember talking him into putting in the show that I loved. One was Suffragette City, and the other one was Blue Jean. But Suffragette City was a song that I played in the top 40 band when I was 14 or 15. And so I said, you know, I really want to do that song with you singing, like just as a mind-blowing
Experience.
moment to say, okay, I've gone full circle from a teenage kid playing this in somebody's birthday party to playing this on stage in an arena with David Bowie. Was just
Incredible.
That was pretty special for
And
me.
Mike, you started playing the piano at quite a young age. You're only 7 years old. So how did you then end up also working with David?
I was playing jazz gigs in New York City and making $5 a night with 5 people in the club. With the best players, people that were played with Miles Davis. And I said, something's wrong with this picture. And I'd been practicing 8 hours a day for years to get to those gigs, and I was a little disappointed. So I said it like as a joke to my wife. I said, I think I should go out with a rock band. And he called 2 nights later.
Wow, amazing.
And that's how it happened.
Were you
I didn't know who he was.
Were you playing the piano 8 hours a day when you were a child? Or more?
Childless.
Less,
When I got a
okay.
little older, I ended up in the Army band because it was during Vietnam, you know. I'm very old. I'm 105 years old. Gail joined the band when she was 10.
I need your speaker secrets.
So she was so young when she joined us. And she was so scared, but we all knew she was going to be great.
Yeah.
And she had her own way of writing her own music out. It was
I
like
never studied music. I
She
can't
never-
read music at all. I'd have no harmony, theory, nothing. It's all ears.
You learned by ear.
Well, it's worked for you, Gail Ann, absolutely.
it
Yes,
really
it
has
has.
worked.
Yeah.
And listen, in 2003 here in Dublin, at The Point, you got to record a very special live album. This sounds fabulous.
Oh, that concert was great for all of it. I mean,
Yeah.
it was towards the end of the reality tour, and they were going to make a document of it. They're going to do a DVD. And it just so happened that I was saying to Mike in the car on the way here, I've did the Under Pressure duet with him for, 500 shows or something, a lot of over the years. But that one time when they captured my version of that at The Point was probably the best one of the best ones I ever did. And so and that's usually not the way,
Yeah, that's not-
the DVD comes out. Yeah, that was like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
That was definitely like, I got all the numbers today. Wow. So that was always a special memory.
If you
for me when I
look
watched
back at that memory now for you, Gail Ann, what is a trigger for you?
Oh, so many things now, especially just considering just how music has changed, how the industry has changed. It's kind of, there's a sadness, but there's also just like, it's something to remind me of good times, of better times, I think, in terms of just the industry itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Of course.
so
Now,
it's a nice memory.
Of course, the
now,
best.
we actually have to ask you both to tell us all about the Dublin Bowie Festival. What is going on?
It's,
We're here for the first time. You didn't come last
I
year,
didn't
right?
come there. It happened
and
last year.
Yeah, well, so it's all going to be new to me, but I know that we have a full roster. There's going to be a show at Whelan, is it called?
Whelan's, yeah.
Whelan's, which with some local musicians. I'm going to be singing. I'm mostly singing. I'm not playing. Well, I am playing some bass a little bit.
Of course, it's the bass.
course,
yeah.
Of course, it's the bass. It's the bass.
And then there's the concert with the RTE Orchestra, which we're
Oh, wow,
so
that'll be
excited about.
amazing.
That's
They're
on
phenomenal.
Sunday.
Sunday night, March 2nd. That's the
Yeah.
one that really has us excited because we're doing
Yes.
21 David Bowie songs with full orchestra.
Yes.
And then there's 4 alumni. Are we 4 or 5?
4 of us, yeah.
I think people will be quite intimidated to play with you guys. Don't you think, Dave?
Do you get that a lot? Do you get that a lot with your repertoire?
Not so much, no. I think people are excited. I don't know if they're intimidated, but they're kind of... Sometimes it's people are like, wow, we're really happy to have you here.
Yeah, and I'd say you have a lot of people looking to you for advice. So when it comes to advice, is there a piece of advice received from Bowie that still stands to you today?
Wow. For me, it's the one that I think I've heard him, he said it to me, but he's also said it on video, is that the whole thing about trying to kind of challenge yourself when you go a little kind of into areas that are not your comfort zone. Like, it's kind of dangerous to stay comfortable.
Yes.
So I think that's always been something I try and think about. How can I stretch myself? How can you just kind of go where you're not sure? Then because he goes, when you're not... when you're kind of out of your comfort zone, you're just about to do something exciting, he always says. So I think that's really nice advice.
Yeah, and Mike, finally for you, if you know, one special memory that you have or moment with David, what would it be if we could ask?
You know, it's strange that I would say this, but my dad had passed away in the 90s, and we were heading off from New York to Finland. And I went to the funeral, and I was late for rehearsal. I came in. When I came in, the way he embraced me,
Yeah,
it just
so beautiful.
You could really see he had a heart.
Yeah,
It makes me tear up thinking about it. And you know, you'd think I would talk about a musical when there were millions of those, you know, but it was, you could see that he was the real thing, you know.
Yeah, it meant something, Jamin, that your loss with your father obviously touched him as well.
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us here on Six. Please give them a huge round of applause. Thank you. We could talk to you guys for the whole show, but unfortunately we can't.
Stories they must have.
Absolutely.
For more info on how you can see Gail Ann and Mike perform on stage, head on over to DublinBowieFestival.ie.
Still to come, we chat to neurosurgeon Professor Donncha O'Brien after this. We're back in a bit. Bye.